Alright guys, with the release of 3 very good characters who are on 3 separate banners all within 1 week, we need to talk about which of these banners is going to be the most important for you to pull on. I feel like this video is especially important for free-to-play and light spending players because you guys are going to be the ones that struggle to get these characters, especially if you need them. So we need to take a look at like future content down the line. We need to take a look at the memories or recollections that are going to be on the banners, which banner is more worth pulling, which character is going to be more helpful to you in the future of the game. Now, if you're a whale, obviously, like, this probably doesn't matter too much to you, but it might, because even, like, I would consider myself, maybe not a whale, but, like, I spend quite a bit of money, and even I am looking at this going, oh, crap, which one am I gonna, really go in on? Like, which of these banners do I want to pity? Because, like, ideally, normally, I pity all 3 banners if I have to, but with them all releasing at the same time, woo, who can afford that, really? So we're gonna go over which one of these banners is the most important to summon on, and which one is the, I guess, the skip banner. I'll start off by saying though, like, none of these 3 banners is a skip banner, which is the really rough part. So okay, so looking at the JP timeline, I want to take a look at all the banners and that JP had, and know that Global is pretty much going to follow the same type of banner setup at the very least, even though we're not following the banner schedule. We are following the banner setup. So Itadori came out on his own, and he came out with these 2 recollections, which are already in the game, to be clear. These are rerun recollections. Unity from top to bottom is very good. This one's honestly pretty decent as well, giving extra damage and a resurrect. Like, both pretty decent recollections. However, I feel like a lot of people potentially have these recollections already, and you can pull these recollections from the general banner. So I don't think that's a plus for this banner. If anything, it's a minus for this banner, because you don't have to worry about like recollections. You are literally just pulling for the Itadori, and if you don't get the Itadori, it's an L. Whereas the other 2 banners at least have a recollection, so if you fail to pull the character, then you might have a chance to pull the recollection. So that is something that those other banners have going in their favor. So for the Gojo banner, right, we have Gojo, and then we have this recollection right here. We'll talk about what it does and what it's called, and then a free-to-play recollection, which we don't really need to worry about because that has nothing to do with the banner, but it is coming out with the Gojo event, which is the only event we're getting, which is crazy. Okay, and then if we go to the next month, literally a month later, but we're getting all 3 of these characters at once, because why not? You have the Nishimiya and the Kamo summons, and on the Nishimiya banner, this is also shown on the global side of X right here, that we are getting this recollection as well. So we need to take a look at those 2 recollections and see which one is better and which one makes the banners worth more value, because honestly, Hollow Purple Gojo and Nishimiya are both very good characters, and it's going to be hard to decide, honestly. So City Shop is the one that is going to be featured on the Gojo banner. And so if we scroll down, when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, grants taunt status to sell for 2 turns, which would be a very good recollection for Gojo. And then at the start of the turn, if own ultimate skill gauge is full, increases own damage dealt by 20% for 2 turns. This recollection to me seems like it was completely designed for the new Gojo because it increases own damage dealt by 20% for 2 turns. The more turns that have passed, the greater the damage dealt, up to 100%. So the sooner you get your ultimate gauge up with Gojo, the green Hollow Purple Gojo, and he can only ult once per battle, so you're probably going to be ulting on turn 7, because then he goes away when he ults. You're going to want this extra 100% damage. Outside of using on Gojo, I don't know where it's going to be used too much, but like the taunt status is really good for Gojo because he nullifies all attacks, right? And then doing a ton of extra damage is really good. So I mean, it's a very decent recollection, but it's not the craziest, okay? So keep that in mind. And then we have Curses and Bubbles. So Curses and Bubbles, when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own cursed energy by 10, recovers own HP by 30%. This is on the Nishimiya banner, 7 turn cooldown. And then unlocked at Limit Break level 1, At the start of the battle, increases own Jujutsu damage by 15% permanently. That permanent Jujutsu damage increase is actually pretty nice. Recovering HP and cursed energy on a command skill is actually pretty nice as well. So where do these two recollections place on the recollection tier list? Well, let me show you. So this is the top tier of the tier list where you have Unity from top to bottom, Pride, non-standard, all the really good recollections, right, that people are used to. And then in the next tier down, we have the rerun recollection, which is going to be on Itadori's banner. We have adult time, a bunch of other good recollections, right? And then one more tier down, you will find the bubble recollection, the curses and bubbles, which is on Nishimiya's banner. And then one more tier down, you will find the other recollection that was for, actually it might, is it one more? No, it's right here. It's right here. There it is. The other recollection for Gojo's banner. It's an A+ tier recollection. And by the way, the JP tier list only goes to B tier, so like very mid for Gojo's banner, not the greatest recollection. So technically Nishimiya's recollection is a little bit better in terms of banners. And then if we gonna get really technical, if you don't have the recollections that are on Itadori's banner is the best for recollections, but because it has this one and this one, right? But I feel like most people probably already have that. And once again, these two recollections can be pulled from the general banner. So I don't think that's really an argument to summon on Itadori's banner. So what we're looking at then, in my opinion, is you're looking at which recollection is better. The one on Nishimiya's banner because it's new, or the one on Gojo's banner because it's new. So Nishimiya's banner is S once again, and Gojo's banner is A+. So I think that's a 1-up for Nishimiya's banner over the other two banners. And then technically, I would put Itadori's banner at the bottom just because they're rerun recollections. Now, that is not enough. That is not enough to determine which one of these characters is the must pull, and which one of these characters is a few multis, and which one is technically now the skip banner. So we have to go a little bit more in depth. We need to take a look at their kits, we need to take a look at where they place on the tier list, and we need to take a look at the content coming to the game. So starting with Nimble Body Itadori. So I really like this Itadori. I never got him on JP. I really wanted him because he was like essential to clearing part of the story originally. Very, very good. So he is resistant to poison and soul damage, much like other Itadoris. When a critical hit is performed, increases own crit hit rate, and same thing when a black flash is performed, increases taijutsu damage. His skill 1 is just a melee taijutsu punch, 120%. At level 10, it goes up to 180%. His skill 2, let's go all out, increases own critical hit rate by 40% for 3 turns, increases all allies break damage by 30.3% for 3 turns 2 times, and at level 10 obviously that percentage goes up. His skill 3 is a drop kick, deals 220% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy, increases own taijutsu damage by 25%, and fills own ultimate skill gauge by 160. That filling up on own ultimate skill gauge is actually really good in my opinion. And then of course at level 10 there are the percentages for that. And then the ultimate cursed energy flurry deals 860% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy, increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by 30.7% for 3 turns. That is a really good buff and very, very useful if you're running him with other taijutsu characters. So he's very good on a taijutsu team. At level 10, you increase that damage by 45%, and it's almost a 1500% melee ultimate. It's really, really good. And there's the auto skill. We already talked about it with his characteristics, but he's resistant to poison and soul. So a very, very decent character who has good attack damage, but not only attack damage, but he also has good support skills. That's the thing that's really unique about this character. Now, next up, we have Hollow Purple Gojo. Now, the thing, I have to say it, Hollow Purple Gojo is extremely, I can't say that enough, important to Illusory Tower. Okay, so if you are wanting to take on Illusory Tower, and you get past floor 20, starting on floor 21, you need a good green attacker. And let me tell you, green Itadori will not cut it. And this is going to be your only green attacker, probably for a minute, that is good enough to clear those floors. So keep that in mind. All right, moving on. Characteristic, leaves the field after 7 turns. When Black Flash is performed, increases own critical hit rate. Skill 1, you can handle it, right? Deals 280% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy. Critical hit chance is great, and it does land quite a bit. I just did a showcase on this character, and he was insane. Decreases the selected enemy's taijutsu and jujutsu damage by 15% for 2 turns. That is actually a really good debuff that helps keep your team alive, and it's stackable technically because it's 2 turns. Not super stackable, but still decent, and that's on your skill 1 as well. Like, it's a good skill. His skill 2, Composure of the Strong, it increases the selected enemy's damage received by 23.7% for 2 turns. If you leveled up to 10, it's 30%. It increases the selected enemy's damage by 10% for 1 turn, and then increases own damage by 54.8%. At level 10, it's a 70% damage increase for Gojo. A very good skill for buffing himself and debuffing the enemy. His skill 3, Let's Start With You, increases own break damage by 100% 1 time, deals 222% range jujutsu damage to the selected enemy for 4 hits, decreases the selected enemy's damage by 10.5%. This skill you're not going to be using as much, but it can be okay if you're trying to like break the enemy, I suppose. But like in my testing, in my showcase, if you have watched that, or if you haven't, go watch it. You'll see like how not great that skill is, I guess you could say. And then the ultimate Hollow Technique Purple deals 1000 range jujutsu damage to all enemies. It is an AoE. Decreases all enemies' ultimate count gauge by 2, which is very big and very helpful. But then the downside, he leaves the field. Anytime you use his ult, he leaves the field. So keep that in mind. At level 10, it's 2000 damage. So you have to be very careful with how you use this Gojo. And then his auto skills, he does get Strategic Retreat, meaning he'll leave after 7 turns. And then he also has the Limitless Technique where he can't be hit by attacks. So Gojo is very, very good. He has his advantages and disadvantages, but I have to say, once again, looking at content, this Gojo is essential. Now, going back to Nimble Body Itadori really quickly, I did say on JP, he was essential for the story mode. Now that we know a little bit more on the global side, I will say story mode wise, this Itadori will make it a lot easier to get through the next parts of the story that are coming out, but he is not necessary, okay? Whereas I feel like Gojo for Illusory Tower is necessary. Like every bit of that word, he is necessary, okay? So keep that in mind. And then last but not least, we have Nishimiya. Oh boy, here we go. So Nishimiya is insanely good. Insanely essential to the game. She will help you not only in Illusory Tower, she'll also help you in story mode. She'll help you in every form of content in the game that is to come. She is just bar none like one of the best supports in the game. Very, very good. So if own HP is 60% or below, grants evasion status to self for 2 times. And then her skill 1, Windblade, deals 100% range jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, increases the selected enemy's damage received by 15.4% for 2 turns 3 times. At level 10, it goes up to 21%, so that's a debuff on her skill 1, which is solid. That doesn't take any cursed energy. Her skill 2 is Tailwind, increases all allies damage by 41.7% for 2 turns, and their break damage by 20% for 2 turns. At level 10, your damage is 68% increase on all allies. That's really, really good. And then skill 3, this is the one that I find really insane. Reconnaissance increases all allies' critical hit rate by 30%, critical hit damage by 20%, and decreases all enemies' critical hit resist by 30%. That's freaking insane. That's really, really good, right? And at level 10, the percentages change as well to go up even more on these first 2. So Nishimiya, like almost a must-have character because of that support, man. The debuffs, the buffs, everything that she offers is so good. And then her ultimate, I'll Teach You a Lesson, deals 420% range jujutsu damage to all enemies for 6 hits, decreases the selected enemy's ultimate count gauge by 1, and stuns all enemies with a 50% chance. If you upgrade to level 10, it's a 90% chance, so a pretty good chance to stun all enemies. That stun on enemies can be the make or break for different stages in this game. That is actually really, really good. So, and then she also decreases the ultimate count gauge. She just does everything. She does everything you want for a character. She doesn't even need auto skills, right? She's so freaking good. And like I said, her memory or recollection on her banner is technically the better of the other banners too for the recollections you want. So in general, I see no downside to pulling for this character. But if that's not enough to believe me, let me show you the JP tier list for these characters. I've heard a couple people say they don't like this tier list. I don't understand why. This is literally the best tier list out there, in my opinion. It is very, very accurate. JP players have been playing for a while. I think anyone who doesn't like this tier list just doesn't like that their favorite character is up there potentially. But so Nishimiya, up here in double S tier. Now the catch is Gojo also up here in double S tier, and then Itadori, he is 1 tier down, so that's the easiest, you know, to say like, hey, he doesn't have any new recollections on his banner. He's not as good as the other two, so like, I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Itadori is probably going to be our skip character. That is your skip banner. Itadori is your skip banner. That hurts me to say. I really like this Itadori, but he is your skip banner. And so that leaves us with the question of, is Gojo the must pull or is Nishimiya the must pull? And honestly, this one's so freaking tough for me because like a support will always be good in the game, like no matter what. But Gojo, you need him for illusory tower if you're gonna do illusory tower. Like it's impossible. Like literally, like I guess it is possible, but it's so hard to do without him. It's damn near impossible to do without him. I don't know. Oh man. So if I have to put it in order, right? If I'm forced to do this, if somebody is gonna hold me to picking here, I would have to go. In general, oh, this is so hard. I want to put them both in must pull. Realistically, if I could, I put Nishimiya and Gojo both in must pull. I put them both in must pull. If I had to, that's what I would do. But since we have to put one in each tier, that's how it goes. Nishimiya for longer form content in the game, for just in general in the game, you know, longer. That's the one you want to pull on right now. Remember, all these characters get added to the general banner eventually. And you could potentially pull Hollow Purple Gojo later, which is exactly what I just did on JP. So it is possible, right? But this character will help you through a lot more content in the game. We're about to get some EX stages in story mode eventually. Not right away, but we're going to get some EX stages in story mode eventually that are very, very hard. She'll be able to help you more than Hollow Purple Gojo will in those stages in the long run, looking towards the future of the game, right? And then we're also going to be getting some high difficulty event boss battles eventually. She's going to help you more with that too. Okay, so that's why you're going to go for Nishimiya first and foremost, in addition to her recollection on her banner being technically the better recollection to go for as well. So there's a couple of reasons that I'm putting her for must pull. Gojo, once again, in the immediate future is going to be better for Illusory Tower right now. But like for longevity of the game, I think Nishimiya is your must pull. So hopefully that helps you guys out. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments, but I literally can't come up. I can't put this list any other way. I think that's, I mean, I could go like this, but I think that's the way it has to be. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.